excited to be introducing Michael Holoway to our Everything ALS family. Mr. Holoway is a technology and equipment associate at Team Gleason. As many of you know, Team Gleason is an incredible organization whose mission is to improve the quality of life for ALS patients by delivering innovative technology and equipment. In joining Team Gleason, Mr. Holoway said that the ability to bring positive change into people's lives is the most rewarding thing he has ever had the pleasure of doing in his professional career, which is right in line with the energy that we have in our little family. So with that, we at Everything ALS are so grateful to Mr. Holoway and Team Gleason for everything they have done for the community. And we'd like to welcome you to the family, Mr. Holoway.
Thank you so much. And please stop calling me Mr. Holoway. You can just call me Michael. That's crazy.
Well, and Michael Holoway, before we kick off the agenda, I also want to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Meera Gandhi. I'm the Chief of Staff of Everything ALS. I'm just here for a short second because I'm going to be talking for a short second. I'll be here the whole time because I want to introduce Indu Navar, the founder of our organization, and she does have some really exciting updates to share with you in this community. So I'll hand it off to Indu.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Meera. And as most of you, who actually come to our event every other Wednesday, we're very grateful to have this opportunity to see all of you. But we also have announcement that we formed, what we call PALS Advisory Committee. And we are thrilled to actually introduce you to Dina Salini and John Harrison, and also Hira Aluwalia. Actually, you hear them a lot every week, but they've actually joined to work with us very closely on advising us. And we believe in creating a transparent community here. And we are very thrilled. And like I said, we have some more people who are joining us. And if you're interested, please let us know. And with that, I would like to have John Harrison actually introduce himself. I think I should unmute him.
John, you're on mute right now. We're going to get there. We're still not hearing you. Maybe in the meantime, we can have Dina introduce herself.
Right. Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dina Cellini. I've had the pleasure of joining you for a number of these webinars, always so informative. I, like you, am pals, doing the best I can with the cards I've been dealt, staying positive, staying hopeful, doing, I think, some good things to help me each day. Indu has asked me to participate in a...
Oh, Dina, you're mute. You went on mute. Okay.
Is that, I was trying to get on the computer, but I'm not so good at that. So that's why I have my phone. I'm not sure how much y'all heard, but in any event, Indu asked me to participate, which I was glad to do. I'm a lawyer by training, haven't practiced in a while. I have a wonderful supportive family living in Miami, Florida. And actually, John Harrison, who you'll meet next, has become a good friend of mine. We collaborate and conspire to move, alternative therapeutics forward. And I'm willing and able at this point to do whatever I'm called upon to do. I promise that I'll give it my best shot, anything I can do. And I'm anxious to learn about the voice banking today, as I've started to do a little of it on my own. And that's pretty much it. Hope my email is listed on the website, because I'm happy to communicate with any of you on either Everything ALS Matters or just privately on just ALS Matters, if you want to compare notes. So feel free to reach out to me, because I'm I'm here and at anyone's disposal. And if I don't know something, I have no problem saying I don't know, but I'll find out.
Thank you, Dina.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted at this point. Can everyone hear me? Good, good. Dina, thank you. And Inda and Mira, thank you for getting a advisory group. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be a part of it. And, you know, we all have an individual walk, but we are nonetheless all family. And we all work to support each other. And even though our paths we are moving down the same road. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to assist where I can, to share my experiences with others. You know, it's a dreadful disease, and it affects not just the patients, but all of the families. So our working together and our mutual support is such an important thing. And I welcome the opportunity to meet and work with all of you. As Dina said, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thanks again. Here's to come.
Well, thank you, John. And I wanted to tell everyone here, you know, to change the paradigm of what ALS is, what we're doing is really new things, and new things are sometimes scary. That is, we are going to be closely collaborating with all the stakeholders. So the stakeholders happen to be, as a patient community, all the institutions. We have Lyle Ostro from Johns Hopkins. Many of you know, he just joined our scientific advisory board. So that means it makes us, you know, we have MGH, MIT, IBM Research, and Johns Hopkins. So we're surrounded by renowned researchers who are actually the cream of the crop. And with that, we've actually invited a lot of pharma companies to be part of this, because we want to go where the change is going to happen. The drug is made by the pharma companies. We need to understand what their frictions are. And literally, I feel, I look at where Alzheimer's and Parkinson's is, they are a lot more collaborative with pharma companies than ALS has ever been. So we have created a non-competitive way for pharma companies to work together, what we call open innovation. So they are, for the first time in ALS, coming together in a non-competitive way to work together. So this creates a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. And we've been told by some of the patients that we know that this creates a lot of anxiety. And we want to make sure that this PALS advisory committee is set up to create a very transparent and in terms of both financial exchanges and also operations exchanges. So there's nothing to hide here. So we want to be very clear that we have a best intent, because I'm doing this because I lost my dear one to ALS, which was his last weekend, was his birthday. And this was his wish. So I will continue to, deliver on his wish, and working with a lot of new friends that we have made through this journey. And Hira Aluwalia will be talking, but he would be talking after the Michael Holoway's conversation. So with that, I will let Michael take over.
Thank you, everybody. Last week when I was asked to speak on this, I guess can't tell you how overjoyed and excited I was to talk to y'all about voice preservation. It's one of those things that's really near and dear to me. Personally, it's something I've been working on for the last year as I've been at Team Gleason. It's been my number one focus. If you're not familiar with Team Gleason, we are a nonprofit out of New Orleans, Louisiana, started by Steve Gleason. Steve was a former NFL player for the greatest sports team of all time, the New Orleans Saints. He was diagnosed in 2011 with ALS. And as he was going through his journey, what he recognized was, though people were making strides and trying to find out why this disease happens and how to cure, what was really being neglected was the now needs of people living with ALS. Also, just the general lack of awareness for the disease. And so Team Gleason's mission is to raise awareness for ALS and to use technology as a cure until there is a cure found for ALS. That's really what drives us. At the end of the day, we would love to be able to reach 100% of the people that are afflicted with ALS and give them everything that we can to just not to just live, but to have a fulfilling life. Things that we can't do without the means of this like amazing technology that's been coming out over the last few years. We have so many programs that we've been able to grow, all on the kindness of strangers and donations. We continue to see growth. We hit record numbers month over month in new request fulfillments. So we know we're doing our job correctly. We have a long way to go, but that is where we are right now. So I'll dive into the voice preservation in just a moment, but just to give you an idea of some of the other things that we do over here at Team Gleason. We have a lot of program services to make things a little bit easier. We have a communication device copay. Many of you probably know this already, but Medicare, which most people with ALS are going to be on, only pays for 80% of the speech generating device. So Team Gleason makes an effort to pay that 20% copay. We have communication device loaner programs. If you are within the 5 years where you can't get a new device, or let's say you just can't go through insurance for some reason, we do have a vast loaner closet. We do wheelchair seat elevator grants, equipment grants, home automation, which can generally be just one or two rooms in the house, lights, thermostats, televisions, things of that can integrate into your speech generating device, that can be controlled with the hands or with the eye gaze technology. Another amazing thing that we can do is adventures, and it is after voice and message banking, it is my favorite program that we do. Steve and Michelle Gleason were and still are avid travelers, and we try and extend that to as many pals and cows as we possibly can. So if you have something that you're having your heart to set on in the next few months and you are thinking about traveling, Emily Elizabeth is our adventures coordinator, and she can help you navigate not just how to travel, but where the best places are that are going to be accommodating for you, how to get there properly. We might not be able to help with the entire thing, but there are things that we can help out with. And that's just one of those really special things that we can do here at Team Gleason. Did anybody have any questions before I continue on?
Hi, Mike. I'm James. I'm actually going to be running the Q&A portion. So feel free to give your presentation. People can put the questions in the chat and then we'll ask them to you afterwards.
Perfect. So I have a bad habit of not looking at the chat. I get super distracted. So I actually have it turned off right now. So I'll go backtrack them afterwards.
Don't worry about it. We got you covered. We're pulling them from the chat as they come. So you just do your presentation.
Oh, great. Thank you. So to start off with voice and message banking, well, all of our programs really, all you need to do is simply go to teamgleason.org. And in the very top right corner, there's this little black button that says Need Assistance. If you click on that, it will actually bring you to all of our program services and big, bold, yellow boxes. So it's easy if you are using eye gaze to access these services. For voice preservation.
Daniel, Michael, we don't see your presentation, so you know.
That's okay. That's okay. So.
Or we don't see a screen.
That's fine. That's fine. So for voice preservation, like I said, there has been a huge uptick in the people that are wanting to preserve their voice, which is absolutely incredible. Like I said, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. It is my favorite program service that we offer, because it's funny that McFinn was talking about this earlier, talking about his voice, and sometimes he just likes to listen to himself talk, and it brings out it just shows so much of your character, who you are. And one of the most unfortunate things about ALS is not being able to express yourself with your own voice any longer. It's really cruel. But with technology, what we've been able to do, we've been able to team up with a few different companies and a few different organizations who can help us preserve your voice. So should you ever lose the ability to speak with your own natural voice, when you get your speech generating device, whenever you start talking, it will actually be you, your voice, your intentions that are coming out through it. So the two modalities of capturing the voice are going to be voice banking and message banking. Voice banking is reading and recording a set amount of phrases. So there are tons of different softwares out there. At Team Gleason, we recommend Acapella, just because it's a little bit easier to use than some of the others, such as Model Talker or Voice Keeper, that have you record anywhere from 1,600 phrases to a few thousand phrases. Acapella will capture your voice in just 50 phrases. So depending on the strength of your voice and when it's, the most, the strongest, you can potentially completely voice bank your voice from the comfort of your own home in about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, which is pretty remarkable. Years ago, it would take you days upon days of recording your voice in a soundproofed environment, spending thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. And with the advancement of technology, that's something that Team Gleason can actually fund, and you can develop your own voice after the voice banking in about 45 minutes, which is just pretty incredible to me. What you're left with at the end of voice banking is going to be a synthesized version of your voice. So while it is uniquely your voice, what it really misses is the tonality, the musicality that's truly you. Think about how when you're getting directions from Siri or Google Maps, and it's that matter of fact, turn left here. That's what voice banking is. It's for the everyday use, for questions that spring up on you. You don't have something just preloaded into your device to say back. So if somebody's asking you a pointed question and you need to answer, that's what voice banking is going to be there for. The wonderful thing about voice banking, all you need for programs like Acapella is a computer, which can be a laptop, it can be Mac, it can be Windows, it can be a tower, and a headset microphone, one of those noise canceling ones, which are pretty inexpensive. And that's all you need, and just a little bit of time, and you can have your voice synthetically delivered to you when you need it, should you ever need it with a speech generating device. For the other modality of voice preservation, there is message banking. I said that with the voice banking, what you're kind of missing on it is the tonality and the intent, the musicality of the voice. Message banking is going to be a lot more personalized. It's going to capture the true essence of your voice. It's not necessarily more difficult. That's the question I get asked a lot. Is it hard? I wouldn't say it is, but it does take a little bit more care. It takes a little bit more attention, because these are things that you're going to be curating yourself. So there are 100 different ways to say good morning. How you doing? Nice to see you. All these things. Those are things you might want to curate for yourself by making a file labeled good morning. And you could have every single way you say good morning in that file. I love you. Who are you talking to when you say I love you? Are you talking to your daughter, your son, your spouse, whoever it may be? You're going to say it a little bit differently to each one of these people. I actually had a pals recently who recorded everything twice. He recorded everything in his normal voice, how he would say it on the day-to-day, but he also recorded it sarcastically, which I just thought was brilliant. It took him so much time, but I just thought that was an amazing thing to do. And it just goes to show you how much you can really present yourself with just your voice. It's also really interesting with message banking. it's a lot, like I was saying earlier, it's really personalized. And I always suggest people getting their friends and loved ones involved, because there's so many things that you say that you don't realize that you say all the time. When I was explaining this to my wife, she goes, "Oh, you mean diggity dope?" I said, "What do you mean diggity dope?" She goes, "Oh, you say diggity dope all the time." It's something I don't even think about, but those the little things that I wouldn't have even thought, you know. But those are the really cool ways that you can get other people involved.
Anything?
You can get other people involved to make it just not just special for you, but all those involved in your life. Now, for some of the people, they can look at these recordings and just fly with them. They find it very simple. They find it easy. But other people, they get scared by them. And I understand it's something new. It's something that not everybody has, it is tech savvy. But to remedy that, we actually have a partnership with Boston Children's Hospital, who are world leaders in voice preservation. We were really lucky that John Costello and his team have agreed to help us out in this endeavor. So if you ever do go to teamgleason.org, hit that little need assistance in the top right. I believe Daniel put the link in our chat. Yes, he did. If you click voice and message banking, there's actually two options for that. There's funding, and then there's also support. So whichever one you click, Team Gleason is going to fund your voice preservation endeavors. Now with the support, you're also getting support from the Boston Children's Hospital. They, like I said, they are world leaders in voice preservation. They actually wrote the code for the website we use for message banking. They've been doing this. John Costello started in the early 90s with voice preservation, with message banking, with young children, and it just blossomed over the years to the point where it's pretty, you'd be hard pressed now not to see some evidence of voice preservation. I don't know how many of you have seen the new Top Gun movie, but Val Kilmer, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, did have throat cancer. He's not able to speak without a trach. So what they did is they actually took his old recordings and made a voice out of it, much like you would your own voice if you were going through it for ALS. So it's just one of those really cool things that's just ubiquitously needed across all platforms, but more so here with the ALS community than any others, I would say. So let's see. So that's all I have for the voice and message banking. If y'all want to start fielding questions, I'm happy to start hearing them.
Sure. So I'm James. Thank you for the presentation. I, along with Pooja, will be fielding the questions and ask them to you.
Perfect.
For those in the chat, if you've just joined, feel free to continue writing them on and we'll get them to you. To kick off, what are some issues people with ALS have using communication devices, and what are some solutions?
Those are questions probably best asked for an SLP. Things that I would say on that are purely anecdotal at this point. I'm not a licensed SLP. Things that I have seen are people just generally, sometimes they don't have the resources to adequately set up their speech generating devices, which could be very frustrating. They don't have the support that they need on the back end. And that is also something Team Gleason can help with. We do have partnerships with licensed SLPs who can actually do Zoom one-on-one calls with you to gauge what's going on with your speech generating device or your alternative access to communication devices. So if you ever find yourself in that boat, then please reach out to us. Those are things that we can assist with. But like I said, not being a licensed SLP would be just anecdotal at best to speak onto that.
Thank you. Our next question is, can you voice bank from pre-recorded voice recordings or a video if your voice is already gone?
You absolutely can, yes. There is a company we work with called Speak Unique. There are some parameters to them. They do have to be certain lengths and quality. has to be pretty fair. Old voicemails we found work pretty well. Sometimes the old video recordings, because of the sound quality, don't translate well into the files that they have to convert them into. The more you have, the better, I would say, though. You'll get a much better voice from those. And actually, Daniel did just put a link to Speak Unique if you ever want to check them out, what the parameters are, and uploading them onto the site to see if they can actually recreate the voice from those pre-recorded voices.
Very interesting. Along the technological lines, what type of hardware and software do you recommend getting to use voice banks? And do certain hardware offer trials to test out and make sure that it works properly before purchasing? Because I know that cost can be a factor as well.
So this would be a software question then. So the software is going to be the different apps that you can use, such as Acapella, Model Talker, the Speak Unique we just talked about, the Voice Keeper. We will fund anything that that any of the pals want to use. One of the things I get asked the most is, well, what's the best? That's such a subjective question. And, it's a frustrating question because, of course, we want to do the best, but what's best for somebody over here is not best for the other person, unfortunately. So, like I said, we recommend Acapella, but your voice might not sound good on Acapella, or maybe it does, but it doesn't hit your ear right. Voice Keeper might sound better to you than Acapella does, or Model Talker does. But regardless of that, we will fund anything. Most of them let you record before purchasing your voice. And we have measures in place should they need some kind of upfront payments, we can help assist with those. As far as hardware is concerned, I know they talked about hardware, but I want to make sure this is covered too. Like I said, for voice and message banking, for just a good rule of thumb, all you really need is a computer. It cannot be a tablet for most of these softwares. So Mac, Windows will work. Headset microphones are very highly encouraged just because, number one, they're noise canceling. Number two, should you have any issues with your head or neck movement or just sitting up in general, no matter where you go, it's going to be static on your face. So if you have any kind of lean or forward movements, you're starting to get tired, you're going to know that your mic is going to be properly placed away from your mouth. For message banking, what we use and recommend is a Zoom H1N recorder. Now that is just a handheld recorder. It has nothing to do with Zoom meetings. I get that question all the time. Think about those little tape recorders that you would use in the 90s in lecture classes that had the mini cassette. It's that, but it has an SD card now. And it's really cool, but you can just keep it in your pocket. And as you go throughout your day, you can just pop it out, say a few things, put it back in your pocket. Because what you really are trying to do with the message banking, like I had said earlier, is you're trying to catch the true tone and intent of your voice. So what we've run into problems with is people write out hundreds and hundreds of things they want to say, which is fantastic. But what they'll do is they'll start reading them one after the other. So what you get is no longer organic sounding. It starts sounding monotonous, and you're just falling into the same pattern of voice banking. So it's more one of those things you kind of want to do in the spur of the moment, where you'll say something that's you, and someone's like, hey, you say that all the time, you should record that real fast. So you pop it out of your pocket, you hit the record, you say it, and then it's properly recorded for you. Does that make sense? And for the mymessagebanking.com, it is a free site to use for anybody. And that just helps you curate your files. You can upload them all at once, and then you can kind of go through them and categorize them, which makes it very user-friendly. There are other sites, but you do have to go in line by line, which can be frustrating because it's very tedious. And if you have hundreds of files that you're trying to upload, that can be a little bit of a chore.
Thank you. Those were some. Go ahead.
Sorry, Pooja, just wanted to clarify real quick. So for that website you just mentioned, would a regular computer microphone like we use on Zoom work, or does it need to be a little bit more sensitive?
I would say you do want to use a better quality microphone. Can you get away with that? Absolutely. Should you? Probably not. They will reject the quality if it's too low. Acapella will tell you, hey, there's too much static. And a lot of the times these computers built into these, the microphones built into the computers just aren't like up to the standards of what you're trying to use. I know applications like VoiceKeeper will let you use your phone, your iPhone, to record them. They can sound good. I've heard them sound good, but I've also heard them sound very tinny. And again, that's subjective. That's what my ear hears. So it's not a black or white, yes or no question. It's all very subjective.
That makes sense. Thank you for those insights. Another question that we got is, how do I know when the right time to start the voice banking process is?
Start it now, immediately. Your voice is the strongest right now. Hopefully it never changes. That's always the hope. Unfortunately, most of my day is hounding people, trying to get them to record their voice. I get hundreds, I probably get about 50 to 60 applications a month for voice and message preservation. And unfortunately, we do approve them all, but only a quarter to half of them finish it. And sometimes life happens and we understand, but this disease is so cruel in so many ways, and the unpredictability of it, you don't know when you're going to have the opportunity to make the quality of your voice sound the best. So as soon as you can, it should be a priority. And like I said, most of my day is just, I say hounding jokingly, but I am constantly reaching out to people who haven't started yet. Just checking in. We want to get these voices recorded, because it's happened too many times where I've been helping pals and it gets to the point where they're like, I recorded my voice and I can't stand it. This is not my voice anymore. So again, I'm not an SLP or any kind of doctor or anything. This is just all anecdotal. I would say as soon as you can, do it. Another really interesting thing that you can do is, if you have somebody in your family or loved one, we also voice bank and message bank by proxy, which is really cool. It's something really special. I had a lady who had a twin sister, and they were identical. They sounded exactly the same. She had unfortunately lost her ability to speak, but her twin sister did it for her. I've had mothers do it for daughters, brothers for brothers, sons for fathers. And that's just something else that's really is moving to see those kind of things.
You actually answered the next question, which was, can a family member voice bank for you? So
excellent.
With that being said, if for some reason that's not an option for you and you have already lost your voice, is there a preference? What is best used for communication at that point?
I'm sorry, I got distracted for 1 second. I see a pal that I've helped in the past, Miss Eleanor Lightsley. Hey, Eleanor. I'm sorry, go ahead. Can you say that to me again?
If for some reason you don't have the family member option or friend option to voice bank and you have lost your ability to speak, do you have any recommendations for methods or devices for communication beyond voice banking?
There are so many different speech generating device and alternative accesses to communication. But again, I do have to kind of defer this back to working with an SLP is your best option for this. Finding out what's best for you. This goes across the board, and everything that I've learned about ALS is everything is subjective. There is no such thing as best. I get asked probably 10 times a day, what does Steve use? You're not Steve Gleason. You're James, right? So get with an SLP that you trust, that you know is part of the community, that has been there and is an advocate for the community. And if they're not, you have to be the advocate for yourself, or your CALS has to be the advocate for you. And trial as many different things as you possibly can. Nothing makes me more upset than hearing that they only trialed one device, or they didn't trial a device at all, and they were just pushed into something that they may or may not work well with. People's eyes are different. People's just understanding of technologies. I mean, For me, I use a Samsung. And when my wife puts her hands on it, she wants to throw it against the wall because this makes sense to me, but she uses iPhone. So in those simple things, and when you're talking about communicating, the lifeline of your individuality and not in stressing out about interfaces, getting with your SLP is going to be the number one thing you need to do.
Thank you. Our next question, you might have touched on it a bit. Does insurance cover the cost of voice banking?
I don't know of any insurances that actually cover the cost of voice banking. There are so many different insurances out there. I guarantee you there's one that does something, but y'all don't have to worry about it because Team Gleason will fund you completely in your voice preservation endeavors. So no matter what you need to do, you can go to teamgleason.org, hit that little need assistance in the top right, voice and message banking. It gets funneled to me and we're going to get you what you need. So it's not something that you're going to need to worry about.
That's absolutely fantastic. I wish more organizations had that ability to do so. Thank you. We have a lot of people from all over the globe, and this is a very popular question. Can you record and voice bank in other languages?
Absolutely. And each application does different languages. So if acapella doesn't have your language, the probability that VoiceKeeper does is high, or if they don't have it, a high probability that Model Talker will have it. Acapella has so many different dialects and languages you can choose from. You can record in multiple languages if you're multilingual. I have a lot of people that do voice banking in English and in Spanish. I had one guy who did English, Spanish, and French recently. Hebrew is a very big one that we see. So yes, the answer to that question is you can record in a multitude of languages, and there are crossovers, and then there are hole fillers through each application.
Got it. That's good to hear. Our next question is acapella specific. So one of our participants banked their voice with acapella a while ago. Will it still be there?
So acapella's I believe in their fine print, they say they'll hold the voice for 1 year. I have never run into an instance where they've actually released it from their server. And I have called from one that was, I think, 3 years old at this point. Now, would they? I can't really speak to that, but I know that it's not in their nature to let go of voices just to do it. From what I've gathered from speaking with them on their support side, they are very compassionate people. They are people who are very invested into the ALS world. They understand what we go through in this, and that there are no real hard rules for when you're going to lose your voice and how long that is. In their fine print, like I said, it does say they hold it up to a year, but in my experience, they've held it for much longer with no issues. So if you do have that voice bank and you through acapella and you haven't signed up for the Team Gleason support, you can go ahead and email me and I can actually pull you under Team Gleason funding should you need it. So.
And I just want to double check. Do we have I believe we have the email on file, correct?
I believe so, and I'll leave it in here.
That would be great. To stay on the topic of acapella, we had another question about it. If someone already has a synthesized voice, can that be imported into acapella?
That's an interesting question. That's not one that I'm familiar with, to be honest with you. I would say it would probably depend on the quality of the WAV file that you're importing into it. You would have to be able to, with the synthetic voice, make the sounds that they're asking you to make through it? That's an interesting question. I think it would depend highly on the quality of the WAV files that you're using currently.
All right. So you talked a lot about the process of making a voice bank and message banking, but can you expand a little bit on how to use voice banking after it has been recorded?
Absolutely. So whenever you actually, when you're finished with your voice, and I'm going to use acapella as the example here, what's going to happen is it's going to be saved onto their servers. And once you're ready for the voice to be delivered, is what the terminology is, you would just get in touch with me and say, hey, we are ready. James wants to use his voice. So I would reach out to acapella and say, hey, James is ready for his voice to be delivered to him. What they would do from then, they would take the files, they would synthesize them and send them over to James in a WAV file. This sounds a lot more in depth than it actually is, trust me. And that whenever acapella emails you these things, it has a step-by-step instruction, 1, 2, 3 bullet points. And if you have issues with it, again, we do have support that can help you with these. We can connect you with SLPs. So from there, you have your speech generating device. Let's say you're using something like Grid 3 as your primary application in speaking with eye gaze, right? You would import the WAV files from the email into Grid 3. And from there, you could select your custom voice, which would be your banked voice. That's just a very general way of seeing it, but it's basically taking WAV files from your email, importing them into your speech generating device, into whatever app that you're using. And again, getting with your SLP, your speech language pathologist, and finding not just the right speech generating device for you, but the right application to use on that speech generating device is going to be imperative, and uploading your voice from there into that application on the speech generating device. Does that make sense? And again,
to continue on that vein, we had an individual who asked specifically, noticing that Speak Unique has voice repair. Could you perhaps elaborate a little bit more about voice repair in general?
Voice repair is going to be for the slurred. If you're at the point where your voice is slurring sometimes, or it's breaking, what the voice repair in theory does is repairs it to a state of a more normal voice. Sometimes it works amazing, sometimes not so. And again, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it just depends on the voice itself, and every voice is so individualized. It will, like I said, it works beautifully where people are just like, I can't believe they were able to grab my mom's voice out of the way she sounds now. And other people say that is absolutely not me. So it isn't always the best option, but if it's the only option you have, sometimes people will prefer that even to the acapella voice if they're determined to not use a proxy or continue on with their own voice.
All right. Our next question is on if you have any tips for recording in a noisy environment, let's say maybe near some road noise, if your house is located around that area.
Unfortunately, the only advice I would say is maybe late at night, and that's terrible because I know most people's voices get strained after a long day. I always suggest trying to wake up early in the morning. Maybe it's too early for some, but getting up extra early, maybe practicing a little bit with your voice, just warming it up a little, drink some room temperature water, try and find anywhere in the house that's far away, turn that AC off, turn the heater off, turn all the TVs and everything off. And unfortunately, just because road work's hard, I get that. And unfortunately, I don't have anything that can really save you from that. Even the noise canceling microphones will pick up a little bit of those things if it's loud enough outside your house. I would just say try and eliminate as much noise in your house as possible by turning off everything else in the house that you possibly can, including that AC unit, any fans or anything that you may have on, and any auxiliary TVs that aren't even in the room. Just shut them all down.
Quiet as possible.
Yes.
We want to be respectful of your time. This may be our last question. Afterwards, we have an open forum Q&A. You're more than welcome to join, but we understand if you're unable to. But this possibly last question is, when is voice banking most appropriate? When is message banking more appropriate? And could you maybe elaborate on when one may be more beneficial than the other?
I would never say one is more beneficial than the other. In my mind, they work in tandem. They're there to lift each other up. You can do, I would say most people would opt for the voice banking because of the ease of access to it now. Having those preset things that you're supposed to say is a lot easier to get over that little hurdle of, trying to make your own phrases, because that's like it is asking you to like bare your soul in so many ways, because you have to say these things that are special to you. You have to dig deep to come up with all these phrases that you're going to say, not just your hellos and goodbyes, but like the intimate things you want to tell your family and friends, right? So when is it appropriate? I'd say it's always appropriate if you can. Voice banking, like I said, is going to be probably a little bit more popular just because of the ease of access. And I don't know of a case where I would say don't message bank if you have the ability to, because it is something that, well, I'll just give you a quick example of why it's so important. There's this lady who lives with her pets, and they don't respond to her voice banking, but when she pulls up her message banking, they respond because they hear the tone in her voice. They know the quality of what she's trying to say because she's captured that true essence. So if you have the ability, I would highly recommend both. One isn't more important than the other or better than the other or more appropriate. I think they are both equally important and complement each other in a very special way.
Makes sense to me. Before we let you go, I do have one individual who I know would like just a moment of your time. Hira, I know you're somewhere. I'm gonna find you.
Hello, friends. It's me again, Hira Aluwalia, living with ALS. I am everything ALS PALS Advisory Committee member. I realize I am beginning to sound like a broken record, always promoting the widespread use of communication devices that will have a major impact on the quality of life for PALS. I was showing my frustration, and as often happens, my wife Maggie, aka Irish Rose, said, "Hira, you are not considering the barriers faced by PALS in use of communication technology." She is always right. God, that is annoying. Laugh out loud. My Tobii Dynavox support team consists of Kieran, my son, executive assistant, Matt Modzalewski from Tobii, and most importantly, Mr. Lehman from Bridging Voice. I am lucky. My question to those providing communication services and PALS is, what are the barriers that prevent 80% of PALS who have communication devices from using them? Friends, we need to change this. Friends, I would like to clarify a few misconceptions about voice banking. Firstly, you don't need to do any voice banking to effectively use eye gaze computer. I chose not to do voice banking because I was focused on surviving and communicating efficiently. I rely on the voices programmed by Tobii. The voice you are listening to is my British accent artificial intelligence voice installed by Mr. Lehman from Bridging Voice. For clarification, The Everything ALS speech program is focused on biomarkers. The words recorded could be used for voice banking. However, Toby a cappella group needs to verify that. Thanks for listening. Keep on ticking and talking.
Ira, that was awesome. And I know Malcolm really well. And so you working with him is pretty amazing. He's an awesome guy.
We love hearing, and as it says in the chat, if you want to learn more about him, please visit the website, everythingals.org/pals. Cannot recommend and speak highly of Hira enough.